Hey, welcome to Songwriting Tales. I'm Mark.
And I'm Craig.
Craig, today we have somebody on that I have followed his career forever as a songwriter and a composer. Tell us about Steve Dorff.
Steve Dorff. I'm going to just read my list because my memory can't contain all of that is on this list.
I bet his memory can't
Oh
contain
my
everything on
gosh.
that list.
So, Steve Dorff has written songs. This is just a small fraction out of thousands. Written songs for Barbra Streisand, George Strait, Whitney Houston, Smokey Robinson, Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, Aaron Neville, Alison Krauss, Celine Dion, Kenny Loggins, on and on and on. Not only that, Mark, but he has written scores for movies such as Rocky IV. He's done 5 Clint Eastwood movies. He's written a score for Maverick, The Last Boy Scout, and then for TV, he's written the theme songs for Through the Years, Growing Pains, Murder, She Wrote, Columbo, on and on and on. This is going to be an amazing podcast today, my man.
I cannot wait. Let's do it.
Bob Dylan would be a good example, but actually he makes it work. But I've heard songwriters that have had, and you just said that you don't sing, and there's a reason why you're not on the radio. So here's my question: how do you eventually you have to sing it to get it to the demo singer? You've got to eventually sing it to show somebody what you want to be sung, right? How does that work? I need some information on that because I can't even picture how that works.
I've been told, that people like my voice. I mean, it's funny. Some artists, um, Barbara Streisand comes to mind. I've done these elaborate demos with great girl singers, and she's called me and said, "I want to hear you do it at the piano."
Oh yeah, because she knew you
And
had the heart.
and so yeah, exactly. And that's what I do have. I'll Barry Mann comes to Man and
Mm-hmm.
Wild. Barry just had so much feeling when he played his songs. Jimmy Webb too. Jimmy,
Oh,
yeah. And so for me, that's been a really good thing for me because people do understand what I'm trying to do. When I make that joke about never hearing me on the radio, I never really had any aspirations to be a recording
gotcha.
artist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think about people like John Prine, and John wasn't the greatest singer in the world. He got it done, and he had that. But man, he felt and he knew how to deliver his songs. And when you do demos, as you know, you're looking for a singer who can sell the song, who can feel it 100%. That's interesting. Well, I'm glad you cleared that up for us. So,
I'll do work tapes, and then sometimes we'll then get a singer to come in, study my work tapes, and then I'll
mhm,
produce their vocal. It really all depends on the song. Um, it really depends on the song. I won't even say the artist because very rarely do I have the artist in mind. A lot of people ask me, well, did you write that song for specifically for George Strait or for Kenny Rogers? And
mhm,
and the answer 99% of the time is no.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, I just I write the song and then hope someone salutes.
I
That
hear
is
you.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I hear
That's
you.
it. Yeah, because Mark, I remember, there'd be times when we're reading the music row sheets and trying to figure out what artist was looking, and we try to write something for that particular. It never worked out exactly, but
No.
Yeah, every time I've ever tried to write something specifically for someone, uh, I always get someone else.
that's
A good
funny.
example of that is "I Crossed My Heart," which was this huge hit for George Strait. I
Right.
originally wrote that with Boys to Men in mind, and did this really elaborate.
That would have been
Uh,
good too, though. I would have enjoyed that
oh yeah,
actually.
I did a really cool beatbox demo with some harmonies and
Oh wow.
R&B flavor, and they hated it. Um, and a year later, I ended up having Bette Midler record it, and that wasn't good. Um,
Yeah, I can't hear
uh,
that.
I always say to have a hit, you have to have that perfect marriage between the right song and the right artist. And
Mm-hmm.
I played that song for everyone I knew for 8.5 years, and everyone pretty much said it's nice, not one of your best. And I was doing this movie, The Music for Pure Country, and
Mm-hmm.
the director called me and one night, and he said, "I don't have the song for the end of the movie. Do you have anything?" He said, "I've listened to about 200 songs pitched to me, and nothing is."
Oh man.
And I pulled this song out and played it for him, and he flipped out, and we flew to Nashville from Los Angeles a couple days later, and I played it for George, and he said, "It's nice, not one of your best, but but we got him to sing it for the movie, and it
It
became one
kind
of
of
his
it yeah,
biggest hits.
it kind of took off. It kind of
Yeah,
yeah,
stayed number one, I think, for 6 weeks.
yeah.
So
It's pretty.
my question is, if you remember, what version did George hear?
George
Because you had
heard,
several versions.
yeah, I did. I ended up going in and doing what I thought was a country
Hmm.
version,
Gotcha.
um, because I had done a female version that Bette had liked.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she never put hers out because uh, it just wasn't her. She couldn't own the song. She sang it a few times, and her
Mm-hmm.
producer called me and said, it's just not happening.
Yeah.
Um, and to her credit, she knew it wasn't her in her wheelhouse. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I did a demo with Jeffrey Steele singing. Jeffrey
Great
did
songwriter.
did some yeah did
Yeah.
some stuff for me out in L.A. We've been friends forever, and that's the demo that uh, George and Tony Brown, his producer, heard, and
Mm-hmm.
Tony didn't like the song at all. He thought it was more of a Lee Greenwood uh, song, but you know, uh, it happened. George sang it. It was magic, and it was the right marriage between the artist and the song, and boom, you know.
Are you? Do you know? Do you know a fellow named Rex Benson by any chance?
I do. I know Rex. Uh-huh.
Rex, he's a guy that I've been working with. He's out in L.A., of course,
Mm-hmm.
and he's I won't call him my publisher, but that's who I work with and
Uh-huh.
work and
Uh-huh.
and he will be the first to say almost exact. It's funny that if anybody tells you they know exactly what's going to happen with the song or what's the right song or what song's a hit or what's a good matchup, they don't know what they're talking about because you know, like you say, I mean, you played it for all these people and they're going, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Well, I
Well, and the
think.
same thing. It's happened that way almost every time for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, through the years, one of my biggest hits.
Mm,
We
can,
we
yeah.
we first pitched that to Clive Davis for Barry Manilow. Clive passed. I still have the rejection letter hanging
Mm.
on my wall. Um,
That's
he
awesome.
said, I don't know. Clive was a lawyer, and he wrote some elaborate thing in the legalese in the margin of the lyric sheet. I'm so glad I kept it.
Oh
Oh
And
my
yeah.
gosh.
the last line, he said, "I just don't feel like this is a hit song." And then he said, "My God, the demo sounds like Paul Williams singing," and it was me. It was a piano vocal demo, and uh, I then played it for Glenn Campbell, and he passed. And then Lionel Richie heard the song, and he was the one who played it for Kenny.
Unreal, man. And that's the, and again, it's just, And what I have found, correct me if I'm wrong, you'll play a song for somebody, because I've done this, and they'll just go, and you'll come back 2 months later and play it again.
And they go, wow.
I love this song.
Why didn't you play this for me before?
That happened to me with Clive, and again, Clive Davis, in his, time, he must have listened to 200, 300 songs a week for all the artists he had. And I had pitched this song to him for, I think, Aretha. And he passed. I have that letter on my. The one thing about Clive is he always wrote me back, and I had some success with Clive. I had a hit with Melissa Manchester on Arista, with Fire in the Morning. I had a hit with Dionne Warwick, who was on Arista. So Clive listened to my stuff at least. At least I knew I was going to get a good listen.
Yeah.
And so I get this letter back, passing on the song. And a couple of months later, Jermaine Jackson called me, because I had worked with Jermaine on his last Motown album. And he asked me if I had a great duet. And I said, sure. I didn't, but I wasn't going to tell him no.
Right.
So I said, when do you need it by? And he said, we're recording 4:00 this afternoon. I said, oh shit. So I stuck a bunch of cassettes in my jacket pocket and went over to the studio and just plucked one out, put it in the tape machine. He jumped in the car, listened to the chorus, turned it off, said, that's the song.
Oh my gosh.
And it was Take Good Care of My Heart, which he then duetted with an unknown singer named Whitney Houston, and put it on Jermaine's album, first album for Arista, sold about 2.5 million. And then Clive calls me, and he says, hey, that Take Good Care of My Heart song? He said, I really love that. He said, I'm doing a solo album with Whitney Houston, and it's going to be her first album, and I'd like to put that, since Jermaine we didn't release it on Jermaine as a single, we'll put it on Whitney's album. And I thought, okay, we'll sell a couple thousand more maybe, and we did 26 million on that first Whitney album.
Oh yeah.
So, but Clive totally, I felt like saying, I pitched that song to you, about 6 months ago. But
you told him that?
No, I couldn't do it.
No.
That was in your thought bubble there.
I could say it to someone else, but not Clive Davis.
You're right.
No.